Together, we made Buoy. We've automated his job as a revenue manager to become a dynamic pricing algorithm, as you say, because we know we, like you, experience the same problems without having it.
Yeah, I started as an Airbnb host back in 2013. I had a 330 square foot basement apartment in Chicago, Illinois, with a hole in the wall that I covered with a photo. It's like the whole deal. And I opened it up because I needed some money fast, and so I didn't make very much in my day job. And all of a sudden, this little apartment was making as much money as I was making annually, which was humbling, but also I saw a big opportunity there. And I realized that oh shit, this only works if you get the price right, because it doesn't matter if you nail all of your guest experience, your communications, your listing, all of that stuff. If you accidentally forget about a rate and somebody books it, then they're on your calendar and you can't cancel, because then you lose any host or any chance of super host status. So it's I was always worried about my prices. And I even remember back in the day thinking, I wish I could just set my price to say, hey, look at my 10 closest competitors, and I want you to be above them, far out in advance. So that way, if I get a booking, I beat them, and great. And then as the booking window closes, I want you to drop below them. So that way I'm more competitive and I'll make sure I get booked while they go empty. And it was remarkable to me that I had that thought back in 2013 and nobody made it until we made it this year, So yeah, so I we took my entire revenue management approach, turned me into an algorithm, because I realized I should not be reading the market and analyzing it and that kind of stuff, because the algorithm in my head is it's slow, it's biased, it's prone to error. All of those human complications are at play. But if we could just externalize it, turn it into a robot, and have that do the first 95%, well, great. Well, then I can just come in knowing how it's read the market and make little adjustments here and there. Let's say I want to get more aggressive around Christmas for the Kentucky Derby or something like that. So I raise my rates up, and then, or maybe at the last minute, I'll pull them down to make sure I get booked. It's the judgment calls should be in the humans' hands, but all of the data processing needs to be in the robots.
Yeah, and we also wanted to give him his time back, because he was spending so much time trying to answer client questions how am I doing? Or how should I price it? We wanted to make that a lot faster. And so that's what we sought to do.
Yeah. And pricing really should be fast. You should be able to say, I want to be in line with my market. I want to be as demand predictive as the very best revenue managers. So I want to look at hotels, and then I don't want to worry about it anymore.
Yeah. I want to focus on guest communications or anything else.
So we know that the market conditions change every single day. So our product will read those market conditions every day. So I don't have to.
Yeah.
Because we were doing a big pricing review with somebody recently, and she's like, I just think I'm not doing my pricing right. And, I'm too high on weekends and all of this stuff. And when we looked at it, we realized, oh, actually, no, you're doing great on your pricing. It's your photos that are bad. You were rushing to get your listings up. You took some photos quickly, and now there are guests in there, and it doesn't quite look the same, and it's hard to get back in. And so that's the hard, getting back in there and retaking the photos is really hard. It's going to take a long time, and you can't fake it, you know?
Right.
And so there's no way to make an algorithm just handle that problem for her, but that's her barrier. So I say, let's make sure that her price is in line with the market, so she doesn't have to worry about that, because she needs to worry about getting in and fixing those photos if she wants her listings to succeed. So that's what we're all about, trying to automate the tricky math, so that way you can focus on the other stuff that humans are better at anyway.
Yeah. And there are so many other things. And so it's awesome to be able to sleep better at night knowing that your pricing is up to par. And like you said, you make those little tweaks. I'm not a girl that believes in set it and forget it. So, oh my gosh. So that's incredible. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, and I know you've offered some, probably not directed to me, but you've offered some criticism on our listings, because I do like the longer stays. Could you tell me a little bit what the data is showing in terms of the shorter length of stays versus the longer stays and the opportunities therein? Because there are some markets where I know some people have to operate at that 30-day minimum, but the markets where you don't have to, what are your thoughts? What's your feedback on that?
Yeah, so every market is going to be a little different, but there's some big rules that apply. Generally, if you're in an urban area, you're going to want to have shorter stays because you're going to be able to optimize your calendar by having much higher rates on the weekends, much lower rates during the weekdays, and you're going to fill up your calendar with probably 8 to 10 stays like throughout the course of the month, and like you'll try to have like really quick turnarounds and that kind of thing to get your occupancy really high. So you can, maximize your ADR through like short stays around weekends, and then maximize your occupancy around like stays that are happening during the week with business travelers and stuff like that. Like that's the urban approach. Now, when you have a leisure home that's a little bit further outside of a city, then the rules can get fuzzier because on the one hand, most of your reservations are going to happen around the weekends. And so your price optimization is going to be around like getting those weekends right. But it also means that your occupancy is probably going to be lower because you're going to miss like some number of Mondays through Wednesdays because the stays are so weekend heavy. So in those cases, if you can get a 30-night stay, then you're probably going to beat your competitors just because you're at 100% occupancy for that month and they're at 60. It's like, yes, they nailed like 3 nights every weekend, but that's not even half the week. They're then at 45% occupancy. So yes, they probably beat you in terms of ADR on the weekends, but like over the course of the whole month, you're probably going to make more money. Now, there are also fewer of those people who want to stay for 30 nights, but so you're going after a smaller pool. But if you can get it, then your RevPAR will be really high.
Yeah, that's so awesome because I don't think I've ever seen or heard anyone explain it that way. And you just put into words exactly my firsthand experience. And I try to tell people I'm more of a, 14 to 30-day stay gal. And they're like, but you're losing money. I said, but I'm not really. I promise you I'm not. And so thank you for breaking it down for me in layman's terms. Why I, felt like we're still, because we compared our properties to the others. And we're still, like you've seen top of the market, 90, 99 percentile. So definitely awesome. So benchmarking, so we had a talk actually this week, and we went through the different data points or parameters that pricing tools looked at. And we looked at all of the, let's call them the legacy, tools. And we're not 100% sure who's looking at what specifically, but the data points that I shared with my group were the following: hotel occupancy, hotel rates, competitor occupancy, competitor rates, and a few others. I can't remember off the top of my head. I told them I'm not the revenue management expert, but these are the things that we would want to look at to make that comparison. Now, for our properties in the Poconos, I know that they're going to be using data points from Key Data, and then I know some organizations use Transparent, I think is what it's called. And so we kind of did a high level overview of that. What is Buoy looking at in terms of the whole dynamic pricing tool management? What are you looking at? Is it hotel? Is it competitor? Or is it both? What are you looking at?
Yeah, so the philosophy behind Buoy is that your rate is part of a market current of sorts. So you and all of your competitors are priced similarly. And what Buoy does is it says, okay, I'm looking at all of the 1-bedrooms in your area. Let's say it's pricing a 1-bedroom. It's only going to look at the 1-bedrooms. And it really zeroes in and tries to find the 1-bedrooms that are the most similar to you. And then it tries to beat them. It's like, okay, so I'm gonna make sure that my rate is a little bit higher on the weekends, and I'm gonna make sure that my rate is a little bit lower on the low days.
And we call that floating, which is why that's why we're called Buoy, because you float on that market current.
And so it'll change every day, but your position relative to your competition remains the same. And we say like, okay, as the booking window extends, we're going to raise your rate relative to everybody else, because if you get booked now, then that means you're going to make more money than them. Mm-hmm. And then as you make more money, you get assigned a a higher and higher competitive cohort. And so it's like, all right, I just beat everybody who's at the 65th percentile. My home is now sitting at the 70th percentile. Now I'm trying to beat them to get to the 75th, up to the 80th, and so on and so on. And so it's a way that the algorithm can find the max possible rate that a market will give to your listing. And so it's telling you, this is what I think the max amount that you can get out of this market is. Whereas with the base rate algorithms, they're a little bit more focused on protecting an asset. They're saying like, hey, we know you've got to make your mortgage. We know it's 3,100 or whatever it is. Like, we're going to get you that much money per month, and then we're going to optimize to make sure you're getting a little extra too. We like throw all of that out the window and we say, what does the market say that we can get for your place? Let's go get that. And I don't care about protecting the asset, because like, we're going to do way better than that.
Well, and it's also because since COVID, everything has changed with historicals and where things were priced at one point. So basing your pricing off of market conditions rather than historicals or on a base rate is going to like put you in a better spot to make more money. And then we call all of this our buoyancy point, so that like it's all very positive. We want you to float on your market. We want you to feel like you're being carried with the current, and that you will rise with the tide.
Yeah, so I just want everybody to feel like they understand their market really well. And like, I want you to be able to read your revenue forecast as easily as you read your weather forecast. They are equally important to the travel industry. You have to know if like you're healthy, or like if you're headed into a destructive storm. And so I want people to like spend 2 to 5 minutes like in our product a couple of times a week. So they're like, hold on, what's my booking environment like? Oh, now I know. Great. Now I'm going to go worry about something else.
Awesome. So say I'm getting started, based on your philosophy, how do I price my property? What do I look at to even get started with the pricing?
Yeah. So the first thing that we do is we give you a comp set. That's based off of, first of all, we look at the 1,000 closest listings of your same bedroom count. Then we match on bathrooms and that kind of stuff. Then we then match on size, reviews, maturity, all of that kind of stuff. After that, we then look at revenue. So if you have a revenue history, then we say like, if these are the people who are actually making that amount of money. And then if you have a new listing, then you can say, I want to make this amount of money. It says, these are the people who are making this amount of money. And then the last thing that we look at is occupancy profile. So we say like, okay, you tend to have a big booking window. You're by the beach, you're like getting booked on weekends. You are a family vacation spot, with your 4-bedroom house. So it's like, it's easy to look at the occupancy profile and tell what the revenue strategy has been. So we match based on that. So based on that, we'll identify like 30 to 60 listings that are really comparable to yours. These are the ones your guests are choosing between when they book you. And then we say, all right, we're going to use that as a baseline. And then we're going to look at the hotels, because we know that they're way better demand predictors than vacation rentals tend to be. The way I was a good demand predictor as a vacation rental revenue manager was by copying off of the hotels. That's like literally all that I did. And so they just
Why?
Because they're better at identifying demand. They have contracts with Ariana Grande's event production company, So like they get told before the concert gets announced. So that way, like the hotel rates go up one day in advance.
The hotels are never shocked by events or event prediction. So why it's such a good thing to copy, because they have the infrastructure and the history to know when things happen, and the contracts to like know when things are going to keep going.
And they're professionally trained revenue managers who have been doing it for their lives, and just like think about it way, way, way more than you will.
The hotel industry is also way older than the vacation rental industry. And so taking cues from them is always a good thing. Yeah.
Cause like I don't need to like read the markets in the Philippines and like look at like flight patterns and all of this stuff to like look at a crystal ball and figure out some rate. I just copy off of the homework of the people who do. And like, I make sure that I copy off 50 to 100 of their homeworks. So that way we're never out of whack.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I think that's absolutely amazing, because like you said, it's buoyant, right? It is moving, it's a moving target. And so to stay ahead of that curve, there is no way that a human being, an individual human being, can really stay ahead of that curve.
Well, and if he tried to do that, that's what was taking him so long, and why trying to make other systems do this thing for him just didn't quite work. So you can actually do the things he's doing on your own, but it would just take a ridiculous amount of time. And so that's why we're able to explain the algorithm so well, because it's something you can do. It's just we have it already done so that it can give him his time back.
And it would also, like, for a human to do it, it would be overkill, because you would check every day.
Every day.
Like 1 out of 100 days, you would find something that you needed to change right away.
Yeah.
You know, and like the thing though is, if one of those days is Austin city limits or the Super Bowl, like there are all of these LA vacation rental managers who have not yet raised their rates for the Super Bowl. Like, it's crazy. So if you miss one of those days and get a bad booking, it is so painful and so destructive to your rate methodology that like, it's really hard to recover. So it makes it worth it. If you can do it every day, it's worth it, like, to do it. But humans don't have that kind of time.
No.
You need to like go talk to your guests and any of that. So like, let a robot check that every single day and let you know when they find something.
I love it. I love it. I love done for you stuff. And when someone else is doing it for I'm here for it. But again, I don't set it and forget. So I will look to make sure that if there are tweaks or if something looks off, definitely want to make sure that I'm on top of that as well. So let's talk. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you should do that because you know your listings better than anybody else. Sure, an algorithm can tell you when things are changing in your market, but you know the guests who are coming to stay with you, and you might have specific things you want for that guest experience, which will reflect in your pricing. So it's just you tweaking it should happen, and it should be seamless for you to do so.
And I think that it's also important because part of what you're doing as revenue managers is you're trying to understand your market. And part of the way that we understand it is by playing with it. And like
humans are curious.
And like nudging the rate up $20 and seeing how it feels, you know, and then maybe you go back later and change it. But like that, we're curious people, and like that's kind of how we understand things. So I think that's an important part of the process, even if it's not as scientific as the first 95%.
And instincts should be rewarded by our algorithm saying, like, so if you get a better booking and it's based on your instincts, that's really great, but at least you knew where you were was going to make you money, and your instincts did the bit on top of that. So it's just being collaborative is what we wanted to build into our platform.
That's awesome. And so as far as booking windows, so to speak, how far in advance should I open my calendar? What if I'm afraid, you know, if my calendar is open too far in advance, someone's going to book it and something catastrophic is going to happen, you know, how we kind of catastrophize. So for years and years, I was keeping it at the, 30, 60, 90 days. Then I would inch another 90 days. But I feel like that's missed opportunity because we accidentally left it open and someone requested Thanksgiving of next year. And it was like a year later, it was like, whoa, like this is a planner. And there are a lot of people who are planners out there. And I think that is a major shift. People are going to secure that vacation come, they're not going to disappoint. So they're planning ahead. So tell me, what's your philosophy on that? How far in advance should I be opening my calendar?
Yeah, so you should open your calendar as far as you have data to support. So we have data out 12 months from today. So that's how long we recommend people publish their rates, because there are planners out there. There are people who are going to make a purchase in that 6 to 12 month period. I actually refer to this as the twilight period because so many people either have their calendars blocked or they're priced prohibitively. And so there's an opportunity there to get this like the couple of reservations from these planners. And those people, like, they will hold on to that reservation no matter what, because they're booking out of fear. Like they either need to be in that location and they think that like the supply is scarce and it's also like artificially depressed because so many places are off the market. Or they are like traveling from a really long way away and they just want to have everything locked in. So if you have data out that far, then definitely take advantage of it, because it's not like a really common occurrence that people are booking that far out for good ADRs, but sometimes they do. And like, I think those are some great reservations. If you don't have data looking out that far, then I understand the instincts to like keep the calendar a little bit more closed. But what's probably going to happen is you're going to forget that it's like opening up as it goes. And like some rate that you haven't had set 6 months from now is going to open up. You know, it's like, are we 6 months? Like, are we within 6 months of the Super Bowl? We are. We like just passed it. We're like 5.9 months in advance of the Super Bowl. So that means that like, oh shit, did I have it marked on the calendar 6 months in advance of the Super Bowl so I could remember to check my rates? I probably didn't. So like, I still run into the same problem. It's just like nearer on the calendar.
Yeah.
So my advice is there's data now. Like everybody has the data. Go find it and open up your calendar. Just do that responsibly.
So we did get a question in the chat. Let's see here. So Arjumand, I don't know if this is a question for you guys though. How do you check restrictions regarding short-term rentals? Arjumand, that's a great question. So I'll go ahead. If you want.
Oh, sorry. I actually just answered. I answered this in my clubhouse just yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So go to google.com and type in city name, municipal code, vacation rental ordinance. And if there's something on the books or like if it was discussed in a town council meeting or something like that, it's going to show up. So city name, municipal code, vacation rental ordinance.
Awesome. Thank you. So we even got a bonus one. Thank you, Arjumand, for the question. Guys, if any of you have questions, please place them in the chat. Tim and Candace are here and they are ready to answer your dynamic pricing related questions and everything buoy.us questions. But I wanted to pause here and see, Tim, if you're interested in sharing a little bit about what we're looking at with some numbers, some benchmarking with the Locust growth market. Would that be?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the time has come. So am I able to just like share my screen from here?
Give it a stab. Let me make sure. If not, I'm going to make you host.
Amazing.
Oh yeah, we gotta.
This is gonna be cool.
Yeah, you're gonna have to turn on screen sharing.
Okay.
I am the host.
Try that now. Okay.
Ultimate power. Excellent. Oh, here we are. All right. So everybody knows that there are a whole bunch of Airbnbs in your area. And if you're anything like me as a host, you're trying to figure out like, okay, who are my competitors and how are they performing and all of that kind of stuff. And so you just like kind of click around on their listings and try to see how they're priced and guess, it's like, it's not very scientific. And to be honest, like nobody publishes this information, like nobody puts it out there until now. So, sorry, we're being silly today. But so I come bearing gifts. What this is a market breakdown of Locust Grove. And anybody who's on the call today, if you shoot us an email, go to our website, click where it says Ask a Revenue Manager.
Just fill out that form and we will do this for you for free. Just please don't worry about it.
Yeah. So let me explain what this is. So over here we have the Airbnb listing ID. And then we've got the, how many beds it has. And then we have the revenue looking back over the past year. So this is like total revenue over the past year. And then also a little bit into the future. And we rank every single listing in the market based on how much money it has earned. And so let's say that you have this listing and you want to see how you stack up versus everybody else. Well, then you can just go ahead and you can see how you stack up against the other 5 beds. Or if you've got a 1 bed, you can do that. Locust Grove is a pretty small market, so it's not hard to look at this, but you can see, oh, okay, I made $1,400 this month, oh, I made $2,100. So I was the top 1 bed in, September of that year. And then because that's not the whole story, I also like to give a ranking. So for every month, you can see like who was at the 99th percentile and so on on all the way down. One thing that we can do here is, let's say you're evaluating a purchase and you're saying, okay, I've got a 3-bed that I can purchase in Locust Grove. So I want to see how much a 3-bed is going to make in Locust Grove and get an idea of like how much house I can afford. So we sorted this down to 3 beds. And we said, oh, okay, it looks like there's kind of 3 tiers here. Someone is crushing it, someone's doing all right, and then someone's sort of lagging behind. And then we say, okay, let's take a look at these listings and figure out if I think I can build a listing that's every bit as good. So I copy this number here, copy that here. You go to Airbnb, type in airbnb.com/room/that number and take a look. So this is that first place. This is the top 3-bed in Locust Grove. It's made $100,000. So it's doing great. And it is a 53-acre like cabin country semi-estate with like its own private water and all of this stuff. So it's like, oh, okay. I see why this listing is doing a really, really good job. I can see why it's making so much money because it's a unique experience where it could be a family retreat or anything like that. It's a 3-bedroom house, but man, it's got quite the package, like full-on pole barn with like machines and all sorts of stuff. Nice. So they're doing great. 8 guests, 3 beds, 3 bedrooms, 4 beds. So, okay, there we go. That's the top of the market. And you might say, well, that's fine. I don't know that I'm going to buy a 53-acre property.
53 acres.
But it does let us know what's at the top of the market. So we're going to assume that this is a scaled down because this guy is making half as much money. So let's take a look at this guy. Okay, still Locust Grove, like still cute, but like this is reasonable. I can see the path between like me and getting to this house, you know? The design is a little weird. We got a chandelier. we got like the chandelier country style fusion, but I can tell like this is a solid wood sleigh bed. Like somebody had furniture that they probably owned and then that went to this house. And that means a lot because a lot of vacation rentals have kind of crappy furniture from IKEA or Wayfair. And so this place probably feels like a substantial house and it's making okay money. One thing that we're going to check though is I'm going to see if they accept to stay. They've got a 14-night minimum. And so who knows? Maybe that's depressing their performance. Maybe that's not. You know, it depends how the travel market here is in Locust Grove. If you're buying a home, you should really kind of have an idea of like what that demand is like. Okay, so now let's look once again at the low listings. So this one has been around for just as long as the others, you know, even longer than the top performer. And it has only in July of this year, did it break $3,000. Wow. So let's go ahead and see what this one looks like. Super cute place. This place is so cute. It's like, I don't know why I expected this to be a slum. You know what I mean? I expected it to be like, oh man, somebody just like left their stuff behind, but it's like.
The pictures could use a little love, but super cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they've got like this cool, like lit up gazebo thing. That's fun. Like they've got the Adirondack chairs and like, look at this, like fields of dandelions or daisies or something. It's like, man, it's like, I mean,
you're right. Some of these photos.
This photo is a problem.
It's a problem.
This one should not have made the cut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Tell you.
But
also, just for anyone on Facebook Live, if you need any auditing of like your photos and whatnot, we've done that for a couple of people as well. So if you go to our website and ask, we'll do that.
Yeah, like it's a really big part of revenue management is like your price.
Making sure your operations are right too.
Yeah.
So
your price is one part of your listing advertisement, like your reviews and your photos and everything.
But your language, yeah, all of that is important. So
anyway, but like
those are dark.
I would know that if I bought this house and put a little bit of money into it, I could probably do a lot better than this. I know it's never made over 3K, but like we could probably hit 7K on this guy. And one other thing to check here is they're booked out. I think they probably have a long guest in there. But they've also got the 7-night minimum. Mm-hmm. Not the end of the world. For me, I'm like, if you're looking for week-long stays, your 3-night minimum should be enough to get you close to a week-long stay, and you'll have way more searches. So like I'm kind of like 3-week or 2-day kind of guys. Like if you're going to go for long stays and really go for long stays, then like make your min stay 21 or something like that. And then if you're going to go for the short stays, then like just make it 2. Anyway, I thought this was really interesting because this lets me know, okay, if I'm going to buy a house for the purposes of making a vacation rental, how much can I earn? And also how nice does it have to be relative to the competition in the area? I could tell like if this one came on the market, I could turn this around and make some money with it. So,
absolutely. So you could essentially reverse engineer this report and proactively, identify a property, use the data on this report and say yay or nay. I mean, this is even better than the pro formas better than any pro forma that I've seen, honestly, which is, providing data based on some rent rolls and projections that may or may not be there. So this is amazing. This is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And again, we'll do it for anybody. Just reach out and we'll make one of these for you.
Guys, you heard it here in our luxury real estate investing group for financial independence. Tim and Candace are both offering to provide you all an analysis. Do not miss out on this opportunity. They've analyzed some properties for me, and honestly, it has changed how we're going to be doing business in one of these markets. So it's actually up-leveled my confidence at this one particular property that I was looking at. I was a little bit on the fence with it, but now that I see what the competition is doing and the opportunity there, it's really that great market intelligence that you need to move forward. So take advantage. If they go to buoy.us, and then I think you like smack dab in the middle, if you scroll a little bit, it says ask a revenue manager. Is that where it's at?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And there's a form there and you can just fill it out, put anything that you're interested in letting us know in that form, and we will get back to you.
Yeah, just tell me a market or send me an Airbnb link and say please. And like that's all we need.
Awesome. Would you be able to share that real quick? I'm getting a lot of questions. Buoy.us. Are you still sharing screens?
I'm not. Oh no,
Not
I can
anymore. Okay.
I can share my screen.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind showing, one thing is to tell and then showing. I gotta see it, guys.
Going to buoy.us, buoy.us.
Buoy.us, guys. Beautiful.
And then right here, ask a revenue manager.
Easy peasy. And then they just fill out their name and that little form there, name, email address, and your question. And guys, Tim and Candace are super, super responsive. Leverage that. They're still in the process of launching Buoy to all of us. So leverage the fact that they're not 1,000% busy yet.
Yeah. Exactly.
And because we still can touch them, reach out and touch them. So once they become too busy for a little while, once they're too busy.
It truly is like it's wonderful to help people like this, and it serves for us to get to know everybody that we're trying to help. So we're getting a lot of information when we talk to you guys, and it's just, we're learning a ton. And so this is definitely both ways. It's wonderful to help.
Yeah. And like, it's an inspiration to see so many people like, on this path to generational wealth, building wealth for themselves and their families. Like that's how we have used the vacation rental industry.
That's what we're trying to do.
Family.
And so like this is knowledge that can be shared. There's no like winner take all. It's possible for everyone to like rise with this. And that's what we believe in.
Yeah. And like pricing is just not that difficult if you have good data. And so like
we got the data.
It's so I love just being able to like give somebody this little bit of help to like free up so much more of their time and help them focus better on their business.
Yeah. So thank you all. Rachel, thank you for creating such a wonderful environment for like questions and like insights. You have made such a welcoming space, and it has been lovely to like get to know you through this journey.
Well, you guys, I so appreciate you. And we have an incredible group. You'll see within the group, people are reaching out, they're asking questions, and others are chiming in suggestions about their pictures and things like that. So this is the space we really wanted to create, especially it's going to be really a team sport, y'all. Like we're
It is.
busy. A lot of us are busy professionals.
Yes.
So if we can kind of support each other, this is really what I wanted. Like you said, it doesn't have to be winner takes all. There's enough, meat
It's
left on the bone for
community.
all of us. Yeah,
Yeah, it's community because there's so
it
many
is.
people trying to go out and enjoy a vacation, and we are in that space. So we can make things enjoyable. And
Yeah.
there's just so much to share.
Yeah. And we were talking to somebody yesterday who just like, she had been on vacation. She went to an Airbnb. She had a great experience. She was like, wait, I could do this thing that this person's doing. And like, she borrowed some money and opened up some places and like is on a path to quit her job. She's like building the side
It's
business that's going to be
incredible.
her full business. And then she'll be able to run it from her phone and she won't have to like, be in the boardroom at 8 a.m. or like whatever it is, just have more control over her life.
And
Yeah.
that's why we built this, because I wanted him to have control over his life too. I mean,
Yep.
he was spending so much time for his clients, and if we could just automate him, well, then I get him back. And so that's
There you
a
go.
level.
And then
Yeah.
we get automated systems in place for ourselves too, because you're right. How do you really duplicate someone like Tim, right? And it's through the algorithm, it's through the computer. And I got another question. Thank you, Arjuman. So the next question is, do you have insight into the rental arbitrage? And then he defines it where you rent as long-term rental and then use it as a short-term rental. Do you
Yep.
have any insight into that?
Yeah, so that's how I ran my business. And that's how a lot of the businesses that I have consulted for run their businesses. It is better and more secure to buy a home, but I understand that like that's also a pretty big barrier. And renting a few may be your path to owning. You have to do a couple of things. Number one, make sure like don't do it on the sly. Like I did it on the sly years ago and I got my ass handed to me. Don't get your ass handed to you. Go into it. It is a partnership with your landlord. What I recommend is like, if you have to do the lease arbitrage model, then that means that the landlord is probably not entirely bought in. Because if they were bought in, then they would want to do a revenue share and they would pay you a 20% commission to be their property manager. That's a way better business model for you. But I understand there are going to be a lot of landlords who have a barrier there. And they're like, no, I budgeted out to receive this much per month. I know that I can get this much from a long-term renter. So it's either going to be you or them. So that's how I want it. And if that's the model that you enter into, do your homework. Just like do your homework because it'll come back to bite you. The other thing is set up an LLC.
That's also helpful.
have a lease contract that doesn't say like, Chicago contract for tenancy, have it set up where at the very top it says like subleasing arrangement for short-term rentals. So like, because when I went to court, with my first landlord that I worked with, and he was trying to say that he didn't know that I was renting out on Airbnb, I was able to be like, oh, you didn't know this? Like, isn't this your signature right here on this document? And because I had the LLC, like, even though it blew up, it was okay. So that's my advice. Set up an LLC. You're entering into a partnership with your landlord. Do property management instead if you can. And if you can't, then like really do your homework and like make your money and use that as a foundation to either buy or become a property manager.
Interesting. So the property management, other than the barrier to entry being the lowest in terms of the initial investment, because there shouldn't be any initial investment potentially, right? Is that why you prefer it the most? Because the initial investment is going to be zero or just about zero?
Yeah. So there's that. And then also you're not on the hook, for the money. And so if something happens like COVID, you don't then have to go and like severely renegotiate everything and say, oh my God, I know that we said we're going to be able to make you this much. We can't make you that much anymore. And like, you got to understand, it's just like a force of nature. There's nothing I can do about it. I know a lot of people like lost units altogether or like had their businesses go under because they were locked into lease arbitrage contracts and the
like the stay Alfreds, right? Like the
Yeah.
I hate to name
Yeah.
drop, but we had some really
Yeah.
big ones out there.
Although, okay, so the other thing about, so I'll say, I'll talk now. The other thing about those businesses is there was all of this venture capital money pumping into short-term rentals back in 2017, 2018. I was at a company that received a huge investment like that. They were investing in these companies as if they were tech companies, because these companies were saying, hey, we're actually tech companies. Like, we look like we're vacation rental operators. We look like we're a decentralized hotel, but we're actually developing this software for property management, this check-in software, and this and this and this and this. But like, it turns out that they weren't very good at that, because they were actually good at like having people stay there. And they were so focused on growth, like acquiring new listings, that they were signing bad deals, signing out like a premium above the market, just so they could show growth to make their venture capitalist investors really happy. And they did not make the right decisions for the long-term health of the business. All of the small companies that I worked with who had really fundamentally sound businesses and close relationships with their landlords, they all survived and are doing better now, because the Forrest Gump effect happened. Like, all of the weaker competition got wiped out, and now there's a depressed market where they are some of the few survivors. And indeed, these guys are now like the very top performers in their market, because they're the ones who made it past COVID.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And so that is honestly the beauty of this business. There are so many ways to host. Like you said, landlord owner hosting their property that they own is going to be the highest profitability, I think. And we've experienced that compared to all of the other ways to host. Arbitrage is definitely an option, but very risky, as you shared your personal experience. But I'm sure there are ways with everything, right? Is there a way? What are your top 3 suggestions to mitigate the risk with arbitrage?
Yeah.
You said, make sure it's clearly defined. This is a sublease or master lease, corporate, contract, and you're not staying on property someone else is staying. Just making sure that that's clearly defined.
So yeah, clarify that contract, have a contract for corporate housing or something corporate like that. Housing. There's an attorney who can put this together for you. These models exist. They'll protect you. Set up an LLC so you are personally protected. Just like, these are just things that you have to do. And it's not that difficult, like with LegalZoom and stuff like that. Like, the US is really good at getting you set up with an LLC. And then see, if I've got one more tip, it would just be like, really, like, just call around to everybody in an area that you want to go into. Because I found that there's often like, there will be a building or something where the rent is like $500 less per month, or there's some special or something like that happening. And if you can take advantage of those opportunities, it'll really pay off over the long-term health of the business, just because like you're spending a little bit less money every month. And the lease arbitrage model is just really tricky to make it work, because you have to pay so many people before you pay yourself. That like, at the end of the month, sometimes there's just like not that much left over, especially like if you're in a market with a lot of seasonality, like Chicago or a lot of Midwestern cities, you're going to get murdered in January and February. You just are. And so you have to make sure that you've like saved up enough money from June through October that it survives the rest of the winter. And when you're not covering all of your costs in those months, you have enough left over to pay the landlord. That can be scary. What I suggest people do instead is go to somebody who has a like great track record, somebody who's doing this already and like owes you a favor, something, and offer to work with them for free for a period of time, like a month or 2, 3 months, and become a co-host on their account. So on Airbnb, you can add, I think, 3 co-hosts. So become a co-host and get all of those guest communication reps in and all of that stuff. Figure out how all of those stays happen, get really good at your job, and then take that wealth of reviews and go to your landlords that you're talking to and say, hey, hire me as a property manager. I can make you more money than you're going to make if I enter into a lease arbitrage business with you anyway. So these are the stays that I've actually managed. These are the reviews. This is how much money it's made. I want to do the same thing for you. So that way, like, you've got something that you can show them that's like a provable track record, and you're not just like giving them a promise.
That's a good one. Okay, y'all. Tim is dropping some gems today. I hope everyone picked up on that amazing, amazing information. I will add that it's going to be state specific too, because if you are in certain states, you may need a realtor license to do some of that activity if you, in fact, are going to be the person holding the money. But there are ways around that to say the landlord would hold the money, then you get your cut. So it's going to be wouldn't you think it's a relationship game also? You gotta, my philosophy is I better like that landlord. I bet, like, if they look at me funny, I am not doing business with them. That landlord relationship has to be really a good one, because that landlord can make or break your business, really.
Right.
Wouldn't you
Right.
agree, Tim?
You have to know that, like, if shit goes down and regulations change, or there's another pandemic, or like, business travel dries up in an urban market because everybody's working remotely, like your business is going to come down to the strength of that relationship, because it's their business too. And so the two of you are trying to like take money from a human being and like put it into a building, and like you're collaborating. So that relationship has to be really strong, or else like when the wind blows, it's going to knock the house down.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So guys, I know that we're heading towards the top of the hour. I want to let you all know that Tim and Candace are working really hard to bring this tool live to all of us. I know currently, if you're using Guesty right now, that's the integration that they have in place only for those who are on Guesty. I am doing my best. I'm holding on tight. I want to list that Locust Grove property with you guys and put it on the pricing tool. I currently do not use Buoy, but I look forward to using it for this next property that we're listing with the airplane hangar. So that should be interesting. That should be an experience. So I can't wait. What's the timeline on that? Do you guys have any ideas for us?
Yeah, so, well, I'm tasking our dev team with having it ready for VRMA, which is the big industry conference happening in October in San Antonio. So that's, but of course, your group is going to be the first to see it. Like we're developing it with everybody who's reaching out to us through Clubhouse and everything. So like what you're seeing in like this market percentile breakdown, that's a really rough prototype of what we're actually building. And so if you want to have a hand in creating the tool, just like reach out to us and give us feedback on these sheets to let us know what you like.
I was on our Facebook chat and I saw a question about the basic, pro, and enterprise sections of our product. And could you quickly just talk about those things really fast? Sure.
So basic is going to give you all of the reporting that we talked about. You're going to be able to compare yourself versus everybody in the market. We also give you a really nifty email report. So you get a report every single day that says, this is how much you made yesterday. This was your occupancy. And like, this is your occupancy over the next 7 days. There's a weekly and a monthly version too. So that way, like on August 1st, you can know how much money you made for July. It's like, you just never have to sit around and wonder like, oh my God, am I going to make my mortgage? And then pro is we publish the rates. So we're reading the market every day, and we're actually like publishing the rates to your Airbnb. And then enterprise is for people who have hundreds of listings. And we do some custom stuff like API integrations and custom reports and stuff for them.
And so how much is it for each of these? Just about, what should we expect?
Yeah, so basic is $17 per listing. Pro is $19.
But there are trials for both, and we are talking with everyone because we're currently within Techstars, an accelerator, and it is amazing. We're learning a lot, and we are building this around our customers. So we'd love to hear from you and love feedback.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to get in there and play with it myself. But that's really affordable, guys, compared to some of the others. I love that you do not have a rev share. Although I would say pricing tool is probably probably the one tool that I say is probably worth a rev share, because you literally are impacting our bottom line with that rev share. So, but I prefer a flat rate as opposed to a percentage, which is rev share, you guys. So yeah.
Yeah, the predictability is way better. And I mean, we started with a rev share. It's just everybody hated it.
And so we're like,
I get it. I get it. I don't like introducing a pain point around a big win.
No.
Like let's say you negotiated with somebody and you got a huge 5-month reservation. I would feel terrible taking 1% of that. You know what I mean? Because you did that work. It's like, yes, we put it down on the calendar, but like, that was a negotiation between you and another person. Why do I get money? So we're a resource, there's a charge for it, and that's what makes the most sense to us.
But if you do have any questions, we'll do this for free because like we'd love to help.
Yeah, and if you want to do a rev share, like we'll
if
charge you more
You're
for
open
sure.
for that. Awesome. Well, guys, this was incredible. I cannot thank you enough. I'm looking at the time. We just have 2 minutes left. Let me double check. So we just got questions for links. We got those in. Jenna, he just answered your question. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, the level of engagement is real, guys. I am going to make sure I complete the recording, share it to the group, but would love to have you all deep dive a little bit more with us. If there's a market that anyone here is interested in, Tim and Candace coming back on and doing a little bit of a deep dive, happy to do so. And take advantage, guys, take advantage of their offer, the Ask a Revenue Manager. You're not going to get that anywhere else. So I really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you, guys, and happy Friday. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye now.